Hey, what is going on, crypto people? Hey, listen, I got a question for you. Have you watched this video? Have you watched this freaking video from Eric Voorhees at the Permissionless event? Have you watched it? Have you listened to it? Got another question for you. Like, why are we here in crypto anyway? Why are we here in crypto anyhow? For you. Like, what are we here? Why are we here? Really? That video from Eric will have you thinking about, like, what is it all for? Like, are we here merely for Lambos and Win Moon? Or are we here for, I don't know, something bigger? Like, I'm telling you, if you watch this video, I'm going to share some stuff, share some clips. It'll have you pondering and questioning why you're in this space. Like, why are you in the digital asset space? What is it really about? I'm gonna ask a really, really deep question later in the stream as well. Look, happy Friday. It is Friday, isn't it? Happy Friday to each and every one of you. It's an interesting time to be early adopting this new asset class, this digital asset space, without question. Look, we can go over the numbers because the market is doing what the market does. We'll go over that as well. Data Dash is on it again. Data Dash, the TA guy, has his channel. It's called Data Dash. Goodness gracious, I can't remember his name right now. Can't remember his name. But anyway, Data Dash. Still on it about BTC, still on it about altcoins, still on it about nothing happening anytime soon. Interesting stuff. A different perspective for sure. Highly encourage you to go check it out. Give him a like, subscribe to the channel, watch his latest videos on Bitcoin. It's very, very interesting. But again, that video, a little talk that Eric Voorhees gave at Permissionless. I don't know if it's permissionless. I guess it was Permissionless too. I find it fascinating. It hasn't been covered in the XRP community. I find that fascinating. Maybe they just missed it. But we're going to talk about it tonight because it'll get you thinking about why you're here. And should it only be about leveling up your lifestyle? Should it only merely be about that? Or is there a bigger play at hand? Is there a bigger play at hand? I do find it interesting. I find it very, very interesting that hasn't been talked about in the community. What's going on, Phantom B? Find it to be very, very interesting, not talked about in the community. Maybe they missed it. I don't know. Maybe they missed it. But I want to say a super shout out, super shout out to Crypto Eddie, Solomon, on the chain live, and Jungle Inc, baby. I've been noticing people coming over to the channel, subscribing to the channel because of some shout outs that those people have done, especially Solomon way back yonder. He's like the first to do it on X. So I appreciate each and every one of you. Thank you so much for doing that. The real Big Will is in the building. What's going on, my God? All right, have you watched that talk from Eric Voorhees at Permissionless? Something big to ponder and consider, I think. Like, why are we here? And like, I think that video will get you questioning yourself as to why you're here and what do you really stand for? And are you willing to fight for it? Are you willing to fight for it? You know, we used to say all the time in early business days that you got to have a dream that you're willing to fight for. Early business days, I was a young guy. But yeah, it's interesting to think about that today. I'll go over some clips, but I mean, let me know in the chat if you guys watch that video. It's interesting. Very, very interesting to see, number one, not being covered in the community. And number two, this was at the permissionless is primarily an ETH thing. Although there were booths all over the place from different ecosystems. But it was an interesting talk. He calling out Gary, calling out the SEC, calling out Washington, D.C. Very, very interesting. Let me know in the chat. Rodwell, no break. What's good, my guy? Did you catch that Eric Voorhess talk? I'm going to get into it. I'm going to share most of it with you guys for sure. I was supposed to go hang out today with a prominent YouTuber in XRP community, but we just did not connect. So hopefully maybe tomorrow night we'll be able to hook up. He reached out and asked if I wanted to come hang out on the channel. It's like, sure. But yeah, we didn't connect. It was tough to connect. So hopefully we can do it tomorrow for sure. Legendary is in the building. Appreciate you being here, my guy. Interesting stuff. I just want, have you checked it out? Tell you, it'll get you thinking about like, what are we doing here? It was interesting. For sure. And I always, I've always said that it's not about the technology, right? It's the monetary policy, right? And obviously we talk primarily about Bitcoin and the monetary policy that comes with it, but that can be echoed. There are other policies, if you will, that can be echoed throughout the entire digital asset space. I love that he brought up smart contracts. I love that he talked about enforceable and permissionless, 100% enforceable and permissionless. I loved how he called out Gary Gensler, like, if everything's token, if every token and digital asset is a security, he said flat out, why do you have selective enforcement? Very, very interesting. Very, very interesting talk for sure. Like, guys, let me know in the chat if you have watched that video. And also do me a favor, hit that like button. If you didn't do so on the way in, smash that like button. No worries, you can collapse the chat. Go smash that like button and come back and hang out with Crypto Siege and the fam. I'm going to go over that video, some bits and pieces from it. I think it's interesting. I think it's, for me, it had me sitting back thinking, like, why am I really here? And what am I really willing to fight for? Why am I really here? Like, what am I really willing? What am I really willing to fight for? Is it just about Wind Moon? And when are we going to put that order in for the Lambo? Is that what it's really, really about? It'll get you asking yourself some questions, I'm sure. Eric Voorhees, OG, OG in the digital asset space. And some might say he's a BTC Maxi. I don't know. He's keynote speaker at an Ethereum event. I'm not sure if I would say he's a BTC Maxi. I think he does represent something that I think we all clamor for. Man, he's talking about the state, talking about some taxes. An interesting talk for sure. So we're going to get into it. Let's get into the numbers real quick for sure. It was an interesting talk, man. I'm telling you, I was like, whoa, what's up with this guy? What is he doing? And why is he doing it? What is he doing? And why is he doing it? All right, let's go here. Let's go with these numbers real quick, fam. Got to go over the numbers. Don't have to, but we'll go over them real quick because nothing's changed. Nothing's changed. According to CoinGecko, the total cryptocurrency market cap is 1.1 trillion. Bitcoin dominance is at 47%. And Bitcoin is trading at $26,610. Ethereum is trading at $1,641 again. Bitcoin is trading at $26,610 again. And XRP is trading at 49, just basically saying 50 cents. I mean, it's 49.9 again. The market is just doing what the freaking market does. Did I share properly? I don't know if I shared properly. Hold on, let's see, share. Nope, I didn't. Let's take a couple of snippets from this talk here. Permissionless. Why are we here? All right, let's see.
It's an honor to have this opportunity. We should care about something that in the realm of money, before crypto, all movement of funds required someone's permission. You may say that cash is permissionless, but not if you're sending it across any distance. Try moving $10,000 across a border, and you will be swiftly reminded of the permissions that are imposed on you. No, cash is not even permissionless, and for all its virtues, it is receding from society. So thank God that a permissionless form of digital money was invented, because it happened just in time. But why does this all matter in the first place? Consider that essentially all action in the economic sphere requires money. And in a world where most people struggle to put food on the table, the economic sphere is literally the arbiter of life or death for billions. Most people don't have the luxury of working toward their passion. They work, they toil, they transact because they need to live. Thus, money is fundamental to our human existence. And because of this, we should care about its quality, we should care about its character, and we should care who controls it. The permission is often subtle, but it is ubiquitous. Every time you pay with your card, you're being granted permission. It appears as though the permission is simply whether you had enough money, but in reality, there's another, much more insidious layer of approval taking place. The bank, the financial institution, the government, numerous parties all along the line, strangers to you, people you will never meet, bless each of your transactions. And you don't notice because permission is usually granted. So long as you behave, citizen, the permission will be there. But if you require permission to spend and to trade, then you require permission to exist. So why do we accept this world in which you are free to transact only on the conditional approval of strangers? This, of course, is not freedom. It is subservience. It is serfdom. And that the chains bear lightly down in most cases should not lull us into forgetting that the chains exist. If they are tolerated, they will become heavier. Let's acknowledge that the laws restricting our affairs grow often and recede only rarely. Consider that the average man of 100 years ago, compared to the average man of today, who was more economically free? 120 years ago, there wasn't even an income tax. Things were so radical back then that you were actually permitted to keep what you earned. You could even cross borders without one of those adorable books of stamps we call a passport. It's amazing that society could even exist under that kind of anarchy. And yet, without any income tax or immigration restrictions, America experienced the greatest period of growth that the world had ever seen. That society in which labor and capital are unpermissioned is the society that tends to grow the fastest. But some men love to plunder. The permission to keep what you earned and to move freely across borders was gradually retracted, wrapped always in appeals to collectivist propaganda like the national interest. Today, across all the taxes that you bear, half of your money is stolen by the state. But the state is just a set of strangers. So half of your money is stolen by a set of strangers. What excuse do you tell yourself to cope with such embarrassment? The permission to build your own life.
What? What permission do you give yourself? What excuse do you tell yourself to cope with that embarrassment? Norseman, what's good, buddy? What was pre-recorded? Norseman, appreciate you checking in, my friend. What excuse do you give yourself to cope with that embarrassment? that 50% of your good night of your income that you work for is taken away by the state. The state. Good night. Whoa, that's heavy right there. Keyless is in the building. Lady in Crypto's in the building. Yeah, it's that's why I so much adore the ladies that are in crypto. I just love the women in crypto because they're willing to be, oftentimes are more willing to be vulnerable and transparent than the guys are. Kilo says, "Siege, this video is so painful to hear. It's like daggers of truth right through my heart." Indeed. Norseman, we need a revolution, right? I got a question to ask you guys that I just like to get you to think, like, what side are you really on? Right? Real Big Will says people have no clue, but freedom is at risk and at an all-time high. You're absolutely right with the Real Big Will. Don't you find it fascinating that it took the digital asset space to level up your awareness? And maybe it's just me, but I feel like before I got into the digital asset space, I was just living this, life and kind of like oblivious to what was really, really kind of going on, just kind of enjoying the fruit of our labor. But just the big picture, I didn't really have it. The Real Big Will says people have no clue, but freedom is at risk and at an all-time high. I just watched a congressman talk, and now every dime they vote on is borrowed money. Every dollar, every dime they vote on is borrowed money, every dime. Dano is in the building. What's going on, my friend? We need more sidewalks. We need more sidewalks. It's interesting stuff. I'm telling you, I'd love to hear how many guys actually listen to that video fully through. I just always think, we say it on the channel all the time, they would have us, the real enemy, not the BTC maxis, not the ETH maxis, Cardano max. No, the real enemy would have us, you and I, warring with one another. Just keep us distracted from what they're really, really doing to each and every one of us. I believe that in my heart of hearts. I find it fascinating that the digital asset space has been this thing that has kind of opened my eyes, made me become more aware. And it's interesting that the infighting is keeping us really distracted from what I believe is really the ultimate goal. Permissionless is such a good word, right? Permissionless, right? I always say the ability to choose your own monetary policy, choose the form of money that you want as your form of money, choose how you spend it, choose where you hold it, and choose the monetary policy that comes along with it. It's interesting, right? It's very, very, very interesting. You talking about some daggers or keyless. I mean, how do you, the dude said that you're sitting around just letting them take half of your money. Good night. How do you put up with that embarrassment? That is heavy. That's heavy. And a lot of people do. And then the vast majority of people, then they complain about the people who don't put up with it. The people who don't let that happen to them. What's going on, Danny Lowe? How you doing, my friend? It's good to see you. Good to hear from you. I was getting ready to hook up tonight with your boy tonight. He reached out, wanted me to hang out with him on his channel, talk crypto. Danny Loaf is in the building. Danny Loaf. Yeah, it's interesting. Man, that's heavy right there, right? How do you put up with that embarrassment? Is heavy. State's taking half your money. And how do you put up with that? What do you tell yourself to put up with that embarrassment? That's heavy right there. That's freaking heavy. Let's go through a little bit more of this video.
Life is being withdrawn by those who plunder you and tell you it's for your own good. So what prevents this trend from continuing? What prevents the man of tomorrow from even greater servitude? What force resists an increasingly permissioned existence? We do. We do.
I will.
You may not realize it, but what we are building is the economic defense of modern society against plunder and restriction by the state. We are saying no to the perpetual encroachment of permissioned existence. It is not the political process, the political circus, that saves us from this phenomenon, for that is the very process which caused it. No. As free men and free women, our salvation is our own responsibility. It is us. It is ourselves, our minds, our hands, and our decision to act, and we are doing so without permission. Permission is what the kindergarten child attains to go to the bathroom. It is not what the respectable man attains in his financial affairs. For if I may transact with you only by the good graces of those watching me from above, then I am something below. I am a subject. I'm not a man, but a child. But is a child even an appropriate metaphor? Children are generally loved by their parents. Do you feel similarly loved by the Central Intelligence Agency? Farm animals, perhaps, is the better metaphor. We've allowed ourselves to be treated like farm animals. We graze in the pen, we produce, we are harvested. But we can vote, however. Yes, we can choose who operates the shears. We can vote whether we want red or blue to rob us, and we argue endlessly over the preferable color. For us to surrender these many permissions, we must really respect our leaders. We must aspire to the greatness of these lords. They must certainly be of brilliant mind, of high character. They must inspire and guide us toward that which we could not achieve without them. Are these accurate descriptions of the leaders of the world? Are they men of impeccable wisdom? Are Donald Trump or Joe Biden such paragons of virtue, such incredible specimens of humanity that submission to them is in any way warranted? I look out at the political class, that legion of bureaucrats suckling at the teat of plundered wealth, with all their ornaments of authority, with all their hubris masked as confidence, with the inauthenticity of their smiles matched only by the absurdity of their ideas. And I find no reason to submit to the permissions under which they seek to restrain me. To such people, we owe nothing, but to humanity, we owe much. That's why we're here, and crypto is our rebellion. Crypto is our rebellion. It is a rebellion against a system that is unworthy of its authority. It's our rebellion against coercion and servitude. It is our rebellion against the economically ignorant, the endlessly imperious, and the ethically impotent. Crypto is our rebellion against permission, and it is no less than a noble reclamation of dignity and grace as free and sovereign individuals in the service of peaceful civilization. That is why we are here. For the truth is that we don't require permission to build great things from those petty tyrants who build nothing. And this was the very principle on which America was founded. The permission of the state is a facade, a ruse tolerated only by those afflicted with Stockholm Syndrome. It is a curtain placed upon our eyes, effective only because we have been too weak, too afraid, too helpless too distracted, and often too comfortable to see beyond the shroud. Many of us in this industry have seen beyond that shroud. We've seen that Washington is no more necessary for good society today than King George and the English Parliament was 250 years ago. Crypto is a technology of individual freedom and a declaration of financial independence. Crypto is the freedom to act out our own economic interests as free men and free women in a just society. To trade, to exchange, to deal, to build, to barter. We should be optimistic. For what a time to be alive at the dawn of such peaceful revolution, where any two people on Earth can trade value without permission. Does that scare you? Or does that thrill you? And yet hubris affects all people. Are we sure that we are not suffering from it? As good skeptics, we should be skeptical, first and foremost, of ourselves and our own assumptions. The question we should always ask ourselves, are we agents of good or of chaos, and how would we know? Are we merely rebellious adolescents, enabling a chaotic world without permission? Are we no more than subversive degenerates, petulant teenagers who, too immature and naive to see the value of order, lash out at its very existence? How can we so irreverently condemn the necessity of compliance, the virtue of permission, the many resplendent wonders of central administration? Do we not care about society? If we have our way, won't bad actors thrive and society degenerate? These are the strongest allegations against us, and yet they are easily defeated. They are defeated upon the recognition that what we seek is not actually freedom from permission and rules per se, but simply a preference for rules which are objective and transparent, rather than the status quo of rules which are subjective and opaque. We like to say that code is law, but that's a misnomer. Code is better than law. And we are highlighting for the world to see the fundamental difference between law based on men and law based on math. Compare a redundantly audited and formally verified smart contract to any embarrassing mess of congressional legislation. Which is more scientifically sound? Which is actually a better demonstration of order? One is a matter of engineering, the other is a matter of electioneering. Compare a smart contract in which every variable is mathematically defined to the Securities Act of 1933, which has $1,000 an hour lawyers arguing over the degree to which cartoon pictures of bored apes are comparable to Florida orange groves. The absurdity of most financial regulation is plain, and we shouldn't tolerate it. But all of us should desire orderly, objective, transparent markets. And to all the regulators in the audience, before you send me yet another subpoena, consider that this is the common ground we share. We all want rules. We all want rules. Rules are good. And this is the most important point that I'll make today. The traditional financial system is built on the rules of men rather than the rules of math, and society can do better. The rules of men are formed through a political process which all people acknowledge as fallible and often corrupt. The rules of men rely on highly subjective human language and leave wide areas open for interpretation. When it comes to enforcement of these already squishy rules, nobody can predict a priori which infractions will actually be enforced. Gary Gensler alleges that all tokens are securities. Okay, Gary, why hasn't the SEC enforced against all tokens? The most charitable explanation is that they are under-resourced. Okay, but that still proves the point that financial regulation as it exists today is subjectively and partially enforced. And if we care about orderly markets, how can we respect that?
That is what you would call heavy. That is what you would call heavy. Now, where's my that's what you would call freaking heavy. Danny Lowe. Let me pull this up. Danny Lowe says the DOJ will arrest that dude. Think about that. Keela says, so happy that he called that Gary Gensler out. Me too. It's an interesting point that he said there about if that's true, then why didn't you bring enforcement action against everyone? I think him calling Gary Gensler out there is just so apropos, and he's not obviously. Eric is not joking about being subpoenaed for this and that or whatever. Legendary, I agree. Our way of life is doomed unless this generation acts decisively, rather, not defensively, but decisively. I agree with you 100%. I agree with you 100%. And I thought this video was so important that I just wanted to hop on here. I wasn't planning on hopping on tonight, but I wanted to bring this video to everyone's attention who hangs out with the Crypto Siege fam, and encourage you to listen to that video beginning to end and ask yourself, like, why are you here? Like, why are you here in the digital asset space? Is it merely about becoming an accredited investor, getting to a Lambo? Is that the reason that you're here? Or is it something bigger than that? Is it something really bigger than that? Is it perhaps that deep down inside you feel like there's something wrong here? Like something deep down in your gut and your inner resources. Like there's just something wrong here. Right? Current administration, past administration, administrations before that, right? The sense that there's something wrong here. Why the massive divide between the have and the have-nots? Why is your buddy no longer your buddy because he or she has changed their political views and they differ from yours? Like, why are certain people afraid of the people that's supposed to protect them, and others are just not afraid of those people? Why is the news media constantly looking to provoke something in all of us? This concerted effort, Danny Lowe, I believe this with everything that I say, a concerted effort to make you and I want to war with each other. Concerted effort. It's interesting. It really is. It's an interesting time. It really is. And Legendary, I think, said it best, that we are just right. I mean, literally just right on the cusp. Or is it the real Big Will who said it? And I agree with you, buddy. People have no clue, but freedom is at risk and at an all-time high. Current administration hanging out with the enemy. Current administration just boldly lying, boldly devaluing our dollar, boldly taking care of themselves and themselves only, to the detriment of the rest of the country. Crazy that Congress people can establish that is supposed to be public servants. And because they take a public servant job, next thing you know, they're 9-figure net worth people from a public servant job. Really, really interesting. Like, I ask, and I'll ask you guys this: like, what are you willing to fight for here in the digital asset space? Permissionless. That's an interesting phrase. Is that what we're really doing? Are we constantly living our lives asking for permission? I remember years and years ago, yeah, I tell this story all the time, but years and years ago, I remember that I wanted to spend time with Little Miss Crypto Siege. And this is back in the day when I had a job as air traffic controller for the FAA, and raising the little one as a single dad. And I remember her asking me if I could go with her on a school trip. Like, I remember like it was yesterday. And I'm like, yeah, sure. Let me just, call in and get the day off. That's what I told, right? Federal government, right? You put some work in, you get some days off, right? Call it leave, right? Annual leave, right? So yeah, I make this phone call. I make this phone call, and the supervisor kind of has to do what? That supervisor has to give you permission. Now, you earned it. Like, it's in the books. It's in the government ledger that you earned the right to have that day off. But that supervisor had to give me permission to do so. And that supervisor decided not to give me the day off. And I'll never forget that, because that's the day that I, decided to, re-stir up the, the entrepreneurial spirit thing, and do the business thing. And, 2.5 years later, walked away from that gig forever, never having to ask permission from another man to spend time with my daughter. It's an interesting thing, permission. So I would ask you, like, why are you here, really? I feel like there's this thing, for me as a content creator, like, to do my part to turn people on, that they can be free to choose their own money and the monetary policy that comes with it, where they want to store that money and how they want to hold it. Because it's been taken away from us. And I asked earlier in the stream, like, what is the thing that you are willing to fight for? Because there's some content creators who believe wholeheartedly that you can't fight for it. There is no thing. That we collectively can't put up a fight, because they would just come out with their big guns. And I just wonder. Like, do you believe that? Have you succumbed to that notion that your thing, that permissionless thing, is just simply not worth fighting for? Right? And your kids and your grandchildren, I don't know, months and months ago, I just got to the point, and I'm sure you guys noticed it in the progression of the channel. It's like I started talking more about Bitcoin. and its monetary policy, because I just knew that there was something bigger to it. And they would have you distracted by the technology. And not the permissionless foundation that comes along with it. They would have us distracted with Lambos and Wind Moon. We say on the channel all the time, we need more choices. And that's one of them. To live our lives without having to ask for permission to do so. And to not fall and be duped for somehow thinking that now we're disorderly and rebellious and all the other kind of negative connotations would come with just simply wanting to live our lives permissionless. To live our lives without someone else's buy or leave. So I would ask you again, like, why are you here? And what is that thing that you're willing to fight for? Or are you on the side of no sense in fighting? No sense in fighting. What is that thing? Have you discovered that thing that perhaps you're willing to fight for? I hope you have. I hope that the digital asset space have leveled up to your awareness. I hope that it has. Remember, we say on this channel all the time that the monetary policy has been thrust down our throat. I'm not sure if we chose it. All right, guys, look, I'm gonna wrap it up. Tell me about that thing that you're willing to fight for that's permissionless, ring in your inner resources, in your gut. Does it sound loudly? I know for me, it definitely does. Nobility Black is in the building. Was good, my guy. Marquise Landon is here. How are you, bro? I'm gonna leave it with that one. I'm gonna hang out with Miss Crypto Siege. But I hope you guys watched that whole video. I hope you watched the whole thing. It's 24 minutes. Marquise is like, what I missed. I hope you watch it. Permissionless, baby. Living a life of permissionless. It's pretty cool. It really is. All right, guys, look, I'm gonna wrap this one up. I appreciate each and every one of you being here. Marquise Landon, Nobility Black, Danny Lowe, Winston Prescott checked in. I snuck it on me, bro. Danny Lowe, Dan O, Rodwell, No Praga. I appreciate you being here. Mo D, what's going on, Moy D? Keyless checked in. My guy, the Mississippian, checked in. I appreciate you being here as well. Norseman is in the building. And Legendary in the Real Big World. Appreciate you guys. Big time. I'm going to end this live stream like I do all of my live stream, guys, and remind you guys of this, that old money doesn't want you to win. But that's okay, though, because you and I, we're already winning. I'll talk to you soon, guys. See ya. Bye.